Good morning. Welcome to your daily morning digest for Monday, February 9th, 2026. I'm bringing you the top stories shaping markets, tech, and world events today. Let's dive in. Markets hit historic milestones before week of volatility. Last Friday marked a historic moment for U.S. equities as the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 50,000 for the first time ever, rallying more than 1,200 points in a single session. The S&P 500 also made history, breaking through the 7,000 level for the first time. The Nasdaq Composite jumped more than 2%, driven by strength in megacap tech stocks ahead of fourth-quarter earnings reports. But here's the context that matters. This came after 3 consecutive days of sharp declines earlier in the week. On February 5th alone, the Dow shed 600 points as risk-off sentiment gripped markets. So while we're celebrating these milestones, investors are watching carefully to see if these levels can hold. The S&P 500 remains within reach of its all-time high from late January, but analysts are warning about potential seasonal weakness later this month. What's driving this volatility? A combination of factors including Federal Reserve policy uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, and investors rotating between growth and value stocks. According to Morningstar, growth stocks are now trading at a 12% discount to fair value following recent corrections, while value and core stocks are closer to fair value. This presents some interesting opportunities for selective investors. Crypto's wild ride, Bitcoin crashes then recovers. If you thought stock market volatility was intense, the crypto markets have been absolutely brutal. Bitcoin experienced one of its sharpest sell-offs in recent memory, plunging below $61,000 on Thursday, February 5th. That represented a 15% drop in a single day and a nearly 30% decline for the week. To put this in perspective, Bitcoin had hit a record high above $126,000 last October. From that peak to Thursday's low, we're looking at more than a 50% drawdown. Over $2 billion in long and short positions were liquidated during the crash, according to CoinGlass data. Some analysts are calling this the beginning of a crypto winter for 2026. But here's where it gets interesting. Bitcoin has since rebounded sharply, climbing back above $70,000 as of the latest data. That's a $70,855 price point with a 1.8% gain. This forceful recovery suggests some investors are viewing the crash as a buying opportunity. The question everyone's asking, is this a dead cat bounce, or the start of a sustained recovery? The crypto market remains highly sentiment-driven, and with broader market uncertainty, we could see continued volatility in the days ahead. Goldman Sachs and Anthropic partner on AI banking revolution. In a major development for artificial intelligence in finance, Goldman Sachs has announced a partnership with Anthropic to automate banking tasks using AI agents. This isn't just another chatbot implementation, we're talking about deploying sophisticated AI systems to handle complex banking operations, from risk assessment to client interactions. This partnership represents a significant validation of Anthropic's technology and signals where major financial institutions see AI heading in 2026. Goldman has been aggressive in adopting technology, and this move suggests they believe AI agents are mature enough to handle mission-critical banking functions. It also raises important questions about the future of work in finance and how quickly these systems will be deployed across the industry. NVIDIA unveils Vera Rubin AI platform. Speaking of AI, NVIDIA used its CES 2026 keynote to officially unveil its latest flagship AI platform, codenamed Vera Rubin. While technical details are still emerging, this represents NVIDIA's next generation of AI infrastructure following their dominance in the current AI boom. The naming after astronomer Vera Rubin is fitting. She discovered dark matter, and NVIDIA is essentially uncovering new computational universes. With companies pointing to capital expenditures approaching $185 billion for 2026 in AI infrastructure, NVIDIA's new platform couldn't come at a better time. Data centers, power contracts, and specialized chips are now being treated as strategic assets rather than just IT spending. This is a fundamental shift in how we think about technology investment. The broader AI trend for 2026 is clear: we're moving from hype to pragmatism. Small models, world models, and edge computing are enabling more physical applications of machine learning. Reasoning models have become the new paradigm for best-in-class problem solving. The race isn't just about the biggest models anymore, it's about the most efficient and practically deployable systems. US-Iran nuclear talks amid rising tensions. On the geopolitical front, the United States is holding indirect nuclear talks with Iran amid escalating threats and a significant buildup of U.S. forces in the region. According to PBS News reporting from February 6, these negotiations come at a critical moment as both sides navigate complex security concerns. The backdrop includes ongoing violence in Gaza and broader Middle East tensions. The Rafah border crossing has reopened according to UN officials, but warnings continue about ongoing violence in the region. These talks represent a delicate diplomatic dance. The U.S. wants to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, while Iran seeks sanctions relief and security guarantees. What makes this particularly relevant right now is the timing. With multiple conflicts and flashpoints across the Middle East, any breakthrough, or breakdown, in these talks could have significant implications for global energy markets, regional stability, and international relations. Oil markets will be watching closely, as any escalation could impact supply routes and production. Looking ahead. As we start this week, several factors are in play. We have earnings season continuing with major tech companies reporting. The Federal Reserve's next moves on interest rates remain a major question mark. Crypto markets are searching for a bottom and direction. And geopolitical tensions continue to simmer across multiple regions. For investors, this environment demands careful risk management. The historic milestones in the Dow and S&P 500 are impressive, but they come with elevated volatility. The Bitcoin crash and recovery reminds us that crypto remains a high-risk, high-reward asset class. And the rapid advancement of AI technology, from NVIDIA's new platform to Goldman's AI agents, suggests we're in the middle of a major technological transformation that will create both opportunities and disruptions. The key takeaway: stay informed, stay diversified, and don't let short-term volatility drive long-term decisions. These are the moments that test investor discipline and create opportunities for those with capital and patience. And now, let's shift gears to today's Life Wisdom segment. The Void, Mastery Through Emptiness. Today's wisdom comes from Miyamoto Musashi, one of Japan's greatest swordsmen, from his classic text The Book of Five Rings. The concept we're exploring is the void, mastery through emptiness. Musashi wrote about the void as the highest level of martial arts, where technique becomes unconscious and the practitioner acts without thinking. But this isn't just about swordsmanship. It's about the universal journey from conscious incompetence to unconscious competence in any skill. Think about learning to drive a car. At first, you're consciously incompetent, you know you can't do it, and you have to think about every action. Where are the pedals? How hard do I press? When do I turn the wheel? Then you become consciously competent, you can drive, but you have to think about each step. Eventually, after thousands of hours behind the wheel, you reach unconscious competence. You're having a conversation, listening to music, and navigating traffic all at once, without consciously thinking about the mechanics of driving. This is the void that Musashi described. It's the state where mastery becomes effortless because the technique has been internalized so deeply that it operates below the level of conscious thought. Your hands know what to do before your mind forms the thought. But here's what's profound about this concept: the void isn't empty in the sense of being hollow or meaningless. It's empty in the sense of being free from unnecessary mental clutter. When you achieve this level of mastery, you're not thinking less, you're thinking at a different level. You're freed from focusing on technique, which allows you to focus on strategy, creativity, and adaptation. Consider a jazz musician improvising. They've practiced scales and chord progressions for so many hours that their fingers move automatically. This frees their mind to compose in real time, to respond to other musicians, to create something new. The technical mastery has moved into the void, making space for artistry. Or think about a surgeon in an operating room. Years of training have made the physical movements automatic. This allows them to focus on the patient's condition, make split-second decisions, and handle unexpected complications. The technique is in the void, freeing the mind for judgment. So how do we cultivate this kind of mastery in our own lives? Musashi's answer is through deliberate, repetitive practice. Not mindless repetition, but intentional practice that gradually ingrains the skill deeper and deeper into your neural pathways. Malcolm Gladwell popularized the 10,000-hour rule, but it's not just about the hours, it's about the quality of those hours. First, you must be willing to be consciously incompetent. This is where many people quit. It's uncomfortable to be bad at something, especially if you're used to being competent. But this is the necessary starting point. Second, you need focused practice with feedback. You can't reach unconscious competence through passive experience alone. You need to actively work on the skill with awareness of what you're doing right and wrong. Third, you must trust the process. There's a middle phase where you can execute the skill, but it requires conscious effort and feels mechanical. This is the long plateau where many people stop improving because they don't trust that continued practice will lead to the next level. Finally, you have to let go. This is the paradox of the void. You work so hard to learn the technique, and then you must stop thinking about the technique. You must empty your mind of the very knowledge you worked so hard to acquire, trusting that it's now part of you at a deeper level. This concept applies far beyond physical skills. In business, the entrepreneur who has built and failed and learned so many times that they can spot opportunities and avoid pitfalls almost instinctively, they've reached the void. The therapist who has logged thousands of client hours and can sense emotional patterns beneath the surface of conversation, they're operating from the void. The parent who can tell from a child's cry what they need without conscious analysis, that's the void. But here's a warning, the void is not complacency. Unconscious competence doesn't mean you stop learning or growing. It means you've mastered the fundamentals so thoroughly that you can now focus on higher-level problems and innovations. The jazz musician doesn't stop learning music theory just because they can improvise. They use their technical mastery as a foundation to push further. As we go about our day today, let's think about our own journeys toward mastery. What skills are we developing? Where are we in the progression from conscious incompetence to unconscious competence? Are we willing to put in the deliberate practice required? And in the areas where we've achieved some mastery, are we trusting ourselves to operate from the void, or are we still consciously micromanaging every action? Musashi's wisdom reminds us that true mastery isn't about thinking harder, it's about internalizing so deeply that we can act with natural, effortless precision. The void isn't emptiness. It's freedom. It's the space where excellence becomes natural and creativity can flourish. That's our morning digest for Monday, February 9th, 2026. Stay informed, stay grounded, and keep pushing toward mastery in whatever matters to you. Have a great day.